All right, welcome everybody. For everyone still staying in here, this is a really different thing for me to do today. But if you don't know, today we are doing a Ryuga Gotoku Studios tier list. This is a tier list of every single game they have made. Well, not every, well, technically every single game, but excluding mobile games. Excuse me. But if you don't know who I am, which you probably don't, some of you already do, my name is Sonickick. I have been a YouTuber for around 10 years. I make long-form Sega content as well, and I am pretty much known a little bit in the RGG community for some reason. I just started talking about Yakuza for the most part. I'm not as big as like I'm not Cartoon-chi. I know he's all the way in Europe, so whoops. But in real life, personally, I'm a forward track and field athlete. I am currently a teacher. This year I'm excited because I'll be teaching social studies, so you know, I feel like I got the voice for it. And I am an NSU and OSU alumni. So any pokes in the audience? Or demons? Any demons in the audience? Yeah! Woo! And most recently, I've been actually getting into Uma Musume, and I actually was able to pull Rice Shower earlier today, so that was fun. Anyway, right, RGG Studios tier list. So let's get some background information first. So RGG Studios, as a name, didn't come into existence for the company until around 2011. They used to be known as Amusement Vision, but before then, they were known as Sega AM11, because they were a team led by Toshiro Nagoshi. And essentially, he asked to have his own team during Shenmue's development. And he's like, you know what, I'm gonna take these people and I'm gonna do my own thing. And that new team was formed with staff that were from Sega AM2. And essentially, the timeline goes Sega AM11, Amusement Vision, CS1 R&D, and then RGG Studios. And getting into that, for my guidelines for this tier list is that games made underneath Sega AM1, Amusement Vision, Sega CSD R&D, and RGG Studios, those are the games that will be included. You know, Monkey Ball, Yakuza series, and even F-Zero GX. The games not included are games like mobile games, spin-off DLCs, or other Sega games listing individual staff in the credits. So like Ryuga Gotoku Online, I don't think anyone in this room has played it unless you're Japanese. Or like Dave the Diver DLC, or like Streets of Rage 4, because RGG was in the credits for that, but just for a little bit, and then like games like Streets of Kamurocho, which is a fantastic game. And if you have the link for it, because unfortunately it's been delisted, but if you have the link for it, if you have the Steam link for it, you can download it on your computer, even though it is delisted. But either way, if you want to follow along with this tier list, you can link to the tier list is on my YouTube, my Twitter, or my Blue Sky. And I did say if it's okay with the Expo staff to post it on Discord, but on their Discord. But either way, I posted it on my Twitter at Sonickick2, my YouTube at youtube.com/Sonickick, and my Blue Sky. I think it's just Sonickick and Blue Sky Social. I don't use Blue Sky too much. Either way, let's get it started. Let's get some hype in there. All right, so first off, we're gonna start off with a little indie game called Spike Out, or Spiker's Battle, as it knows in Japan. Now, if you think about this one, some of you might have played this one if you have Like a Dragon 8 or Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. However, anyone in here has played Spike Out? Anyone? Seymour? All right, we got one in the audience. But either way, this is essentially like a arcade beat 'em up, and one of the reasons that like Nagoshi made it is it was one of those games where essentially they wanted it was kind of a failure in the not a failure, but essentially it wasn't too it didn't make arcade users it was a good game, but it didn't make arcade users happy because essentially the basis behind the game was the fact that essentially it allowed, they designed it in a way so people play for a very long time. And because of that, that is actually a really cool thing for the arcades to do because, you know, arcade games can be kind of like quarter munchers. So Spike Out, or Spiker's Battle, what I'm thinking, because I unfortunately have not been able to beat it on one credit, I want to put that in, but it's a really good game. I personally want to say It's nothing against Spike Out. Just for now, we're going to put it at a low B. So, next game, Virtual NBA. So this is an NBA game made by RGG Studios, and because of that, that is an F. I don't hate baseball, it's just a fact. I actually went to school with one of the players' sons that's in that game. So if y'all know David Robinson of the San Antonio Spurs, he's in that game. I went to school with his sons. Unfortunately, my dad is not in a Sega video game, so that's going right in F. Anyway, let's move on. Slash Outs. So this is actually essentially the pseudo-fantasy sequel to Spike Out. And this one I actually covered recently on my channel. If you, I did like 4 obscure Sega arcade games. It's like a 20-minute video. There's some pretty cool games in there, and games that unfortunately are not available legally. But apparently, I think it's funny because I actually tweeted at Eric Kelso recently that I asked him about Slash Out, and that that Eric Kelso is, I think, the voice of Ryo in Shenmue, if I'm aware, right? Yeah, okay. Yeah, Ryo and Shenmue, and he flat out said hey, yeah, that's a very obscure one. However, Sega contacted me recently, and we want to use it. We want to essentially extend the use of the game. And I'm like, did you just leak the fact that Slash Out's going to be in a future RGG game? And he did. He just did it. Either way, I actually like Slash Out more than Spike Out because of the character designs. I love the music more, and I feel like the environments in Slash Out are more because I love that fantasy setting especially, and that's gonna be, unfortunately, it is hard as heck. And when I beat it, I was actually not throwing my controller, but people in Discord were like, "Bro, you need to calm down," because that game got hard, especially toward the very end. So that's going right next to Spike Out, just a little bit higher because I like it more. Planet Harriers is next. If anyone's played Planet Harriers, it's kind of hard to play that game, and I've seen it only once. I think it was in a free play, and it was one of the in Denton, and it was essentially it is a sequel, 3D Space Harriers. And there's some really cool things about it, and shout out to my bro Genry Perez because he really likes this game as well. Unfortunately, I have not played too much of it, but just for Genry, we're gonna put it in F. No, I'm just kidding. For now, I wanna put it in a, right now most of this is going in B because I don't wanna be too mean, but we'll put it in between. There we go. Daytona USA 2001 is next. This is the Daytona USA port for the Dreamcast. And while I love Daytona USA 2001, it is a fantastic game. One of the things that really sets this back is that, well, it's still a pretty good port of Daytona, but if I want to play Daytona, I'm not going to go play the Dreamcast version. I want to go play either the HD versions that are unfortunately delisted, or I want to go play the arcade versions. And for now, since we're looking at a high C for that one. I hate soccer, so that's going in F. I'm just kidding. I'll put Virtua Striker because unfortunately, I do not have too much to say about this one. It was one of the first, I think it was one of the other Naomi 2 games that were ported to consoles, and it was other than Virtua Fighter 4, but either way, Virtua Striker 3, we'll put that in. It's not going to be F, but we'll put it in D for now. Now, who's up for some Monkey Ball? Anyway, let's move on. No, I'm not going to be too mean to Monkey Ball, but I love the original Monkey Ball, and personally, I really think that they had an interesting concept, not only for an arcade game, but for a launch title for the GameCube. Because Monkey Ball, I'm not too personal with it, but I do remember playing it a lot when I was over at friends' houses and stuff like that. And I like the amount of content, I love the characters. Who knows I, Mimi, Gon, Bait and Baby. And personally, while the first Monkey Ball, it had some really unique stages, that's going, you know what? I'll be nice today. Let's put it in low A. Now, Super Monkey Ball 2. Now that's a game. That's going straight in S because Monkey Ball 2 essentially takes Monkey Ball, improves it all, adds a story mode, and all these fantastic puzzles and everything like that. So that's going straight in S, Super Monkey Ball 2. Yes, sir. Now my next game, let's just be real, everyone. Who has a Switch 2 in here? Have you played F-Zero GX? Yes. And you will probably agree with me. Going straight right there. F-Zero GX is just a fantastic racing game, and if you have a Switch 2, and while you do have to pay for the Switch Online, it's worth it to play it. Find some way to play F-Zero GX. Like, the amount of content in this, like, not only the amount of content, how difficult this game is, it's absolute, like, I have literally fallen in love with F-Zero GX from playing it recently, and like, of course, when I got a Switch 2, like, we got Mario Kart World, cool, awesome, right? But every time I boot up my Switch 2, and even when I was on my way over here from in the airplane, I was playing F-Zero GX. Because that game is absolutely fantastic. I mean Sonic Phantom because I like to go fast, even though I keep crashing. And that game also, just like most of Amusement Vision games, is absolutely difficult as heck. Brutal. Ollie King. Now, if you don't know what Ollie King is, this is essentially a arcade game where it's essentially a skateboarding arcade, like racing game. Kind of think like if you ever played Tony Hawk's Downhill Jam, kind of like that. But it's cool because you're on a skate, like you're essentially like the machine is set up that you're like on a skateboard and stuff like that. And unfortunately, because this game has not been fully re-released, and personally, a lot of people who have played it, especially like the machine weren't working because people be kicking on it, they'd be like doing really weird movements with it. We're gonna have to put that, for now, we'll put it in low D. Although the soundtrack is fantastic. If you ever heard, Hideki Naganuma actually composed the soundtrack for this game. So if you ever heard like Concept of Love, there are remixes for that. And I think there's another remix that's from Future that's in Ollie King. So at the very least, if you're not interested in Ollie King, but you love Jet Set Radio, check out the soundtrack. So who's ready for Yakuza 1, PS2? Finally onto the Yakuza games. Took us a while, didn't it? Well, 20 minutes either way. But Ryuga Gotoku 1, or Yakuza 1 as it's formally known as, it was a PlayStation 2 title released in 2005, and I'm pretty sure I just realized why do you need a recap of Yakuza 1. The reason I want to say this is because if you remember my last panel at Sonic and Sega Fan Jam, where essentially where I went over the Yakuza retrospective, a lot of things for this game were like do or die for this company, because while the games that they were releasing were fantastic, like Amusement Vision and stuff like that, well, like Amusement Vision ended up like shutting down, and now Nagoshi and his team is stuck with like, okay, I want to make this cool game where essentially it's to appeal to the male demographic. It's going to deal with Yakuza. It's going to be kind of and all this like crime drama. And like Sega was like, why are you doing this? You helped make Daytona USA. You were responsible for these fantastic arcade titles. Why are you doing something so different and is possibly going to fail? Luckily, Sega was wrong. They were right later in regards to how the Western development handled it, but they were wrong with how successful RGG 1 is. And personally, when it comes to RGG 1, at first everyone would go, you know what, RGG 1, it's so bland. Oh my God, it's so broken. It's broken. I'm gonna put it in F because I don't understand how this game works. However, one of the things I remember playing RGG 1 or Yakuza 1 all the way back in 2022, thanks to a good friend, because one of my mutual Shell was playing it, and I started playing it, and I really, really started to love Yakuza 1. It is possible, I think as the game that first started the entire franchise and everything it encompasses it, the story's absolutely engaging, the gameplay is fun, the music, you got funk, bangers like Funk Goes On and things like that, and all that kind of stuff. Personally, I would put RGG 1, the PS2 version, in A. and probably before Monkey Ball because I feel that appeals to a better demographic, and then, yeah. Either way, another Monkey Ball game we got is Super Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. By the way, I'm skipping Deluxe because while it has like all this fantastic stuff, to me, I just see kind of like Monkey Ball 2 and Deluxe as kind of the same thing a little bit, but you know, they essentially just add the Monkey Ball stages. And we're skipping Adventure because that was not developed by Sega. Yeah, that was Traveler's Tales. That was the Sonic R people.
Traveler's Tales, Sonic R, let's go!
Or Lego Star Wars 1 and 2 and the complete saga, and Lego Batman. And then they didn't make any other Lego games. Anyway. Monkey Ball Touch and Roll. Now, they had a really interesting mechanic for this because it was made on the Nintendo DS, so you can like essentially roll, use the touchscreen to roll and stuff like that. And for something that's supposed to be just simple little monkey ball, it's not going to be up there with the GOATs. It's not going to be preferred over my, well, not the GOATs, but like, my arcade titles or stuff like that. I like it over soccer, but it's still fantastic. Touch and rolls going in low C. Now, Yakuza 2 takes everything that a sequel to Yakuza 1 should be. But yeah, they improved upon the combat. I really find the story I found the story very engaging. I love Kiryu and Karu, like how Kiryu and Karu interact with each other. Ryuji's not my favorite villain, but he definitely has his charm. And I really do appreciate that they really just, I don't want to say they up the ante. I love the licensed music they used in that game, especially if you've seen a lot of the cutscenes in Yakuza 2, especially if there's a scene where Kiryu gets stabbed by a knife, and it's done in the most cinematic, like perfect way possible, and especially with a backing track by the Crazy Ken Band, whenever I think of Yakuza 2, I think of that scene and how like perfect it is. And that will come into, well, bring that into, I'll talk about that later. But for Yakuza 2, we're gonna put it right before Monkey Ball. Now, Ryuga Gotoku Kenzan. This one, if you don't know what this one is, this is Like a Dragon Arise, which was their first samurai spinoff. Essentially, when the PS3 was coming out, RGG was like, hey, instead of just doing another Yakuza game, we kind of want to flip the switch a little. Or like a Dragon game, we flip the switch, we'll make a samurai game with those same characters, and this is our way of testing out essentially how we're going to do the PS3 game, how we're going to utilize the PS3 and stuff like that. Now, personally, when it comes to Kenzan, unfortunately, it is not playable in English. So Sega, this is one of the first games to not be localized, and it's still not localized by Sega. There's not even an English patch available. I think they were working on an English patch, and there's like rumors of them like bringing it back up, but there's not really an English patch for this one. And sometimes from what little there is of Kenzan, I remember one of the things, especially. Oh, by the way, shout outs to a speedrunner named Froob who speedruns Kenzan, and Kenzan has probably one of the worst final bosses in the series. That will come. I will probably say that multiple times over and over again. But for Kenzan, we're gonna put it in mid C. So, who likes Yakuza 3? Anyone likes Yakuza 3 here? I see you right there. And just for you, we're gonna put it in high B at the very least, okay? We're not gonna put it in F because if you call this game Blockuza 3, skill issue, by the way. But there are, like, one of the things about the Yakuza 3 I do wanna point out is, like, if you ever played the remastered version, because they bumped up the frame rate to 60 FPS, essentially what happened is that a lot of the enemies act very differently in that frame rate, so while the game performs better, that's where that kind of comes from. But you can just like do a punch, grab them. Yeah, you can just do that. Anyway, one of my favorite things about Yakuza 3 is such a it's like the game that kind of changed how the perception of like Yakuza or RGGs kind of goes forward. It was one of the games that introduced karaoke. It introduced karaoke. It introduced the orphanage. You're in Okinawa, so like you get beautiful beaches, and like the storyline with the orphanage, it can kind of drag. But trust me, when you when you meet the entire orphanage kids. And when you meet characters like, shout out to my boy, Rikia, absolutely fantastic character, or even we see scenes with, or even villains like Mine or Kanda. We can talk about that scene in the Love Hotel. But absolutely, there are some definitely things to love about Yakuza 3. Now, Super Monkey Ball Banana Blitz. Guess what? We're putting Banana Blitz pretty low.
What?
So this also includes Banana Blitz HD because this was the Monkey Ball game that kind of changed everything for the worst. Guardrails. Who likes guardrails in their Monkey Ball game where you're actually supposed to fall out and make it, where you're supposed to in a Monkey Ball game fall out and make it difficult? Who likes, Who likes jumping? Sonic R, I get.
You're short. You're just mad because you're short. You can't jump.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. Don't worry, I can jump. Anyway.
Banana Blitz A tier now, right?
No. Yeah, Banana Blitz is not a great Monkey Ball game, and while it is while one of my things I really do not like I said, I don't like the guardrails. I don't like how easy it is, and they introduced boss battles in a Monkey Ball game. There are ways to do that. But who really wants, in Monkey Ball, you're focusing on the hard puzzles, and all that kind of stuff. Who wants to play, I don't play Monkey Ball for boss battles. I play it for the puzzles. But, like I said, Monkey Ball Banana Blitz, that's going in E rank. So, RGG 4. Who can, a selfish deed is not freedom, even if it falls down. A selfish deed is not freedom, can justify. I love RGG 4. Unfortunately, more than 3, but not more than the original. Because RGG 4 is like one of those, it's a bit, it can get a little finicky, but I love so much about it. You have characters like Akiyama, you have Saejima, even Tanimura. I mean, some people don't like Tanimura, but I grew to like him. But the story for this game, hoo boy, rubber bullets. Who loves me some rubber bullets? Can someone shoot me with rubber bullets? Because I will come back and respawn in like 2 minutes. Somehow. I don't want to spoil it too much for those who haven't played it, but one of the biggest plot points of that game is I'm not going to say the character. There's a character who essentially, there's a character that goes through a lot of stuff, but then all that stuff is essentially overruled because of that particular plot point. When people say rubber bullets, you go, oh, yeah, for people who played Yakuza 4. But the the finale of that game, it is absolutely, it's RGG peak. It is absolute peak. And that unironically saves RGG 4 from being being really low, but RGG 4 of the PS3 titles is one of my favorites. So, first we're moving on to the PSP titles. I always say this wrong. I say Kororyu or, I almost said Corelio. I said Kororyu or basically, Like a Dragon Black Panther. That is the PSP title. So this was developed in collaboration with Sin Sophia. They worked on a lot of the Def Jam games. And, excuse me. I'm just gonna call it Black Panther, okay? And Black Panther is actually pretty unique for an RGG title. Essentially, you play as a different character, Tatsuya, who's a boxer, and there's essentially a lot of RPG mechanics, and the cutscenes are done really well. They have they're done in 2D art, and luckily, if you have a non-legal. PSP, you can play this game in English if you can figure out how to get a non-legal PSP. Either way, I'm putting the PSP title. I'm putting Black Panther 1. We're gonna put it. I'm gonna put it excuse me, over/out. So, anyone in here? Anyone in here British? Is there any British people in here? No, I don't think we get a lot of British people in. Well, there are some. They exist. But if you play Binary Domain, this game will hate you. If you are British, Binary Domain absolutely hates you. So this is a. Oh yeah, I just realized I should talk about that first instead. My bad. We'll get back to that. Because I forgot, I can't believe it. I put Dead Souls way later in the tier list for some reason. Because Yakuza Dead Souls was essentially a zombie shooter spinoff to the Yakuza franchise. And this essentially takes place a little bit after RGG 4. Like, a lot of the same characters are there. Akiyama's there, but you also have Kiryu, and Ryuji's back, and this is the first playable experience of Majima. Naji Rock. Anyway, so in English, this is called Dead Souls, so we're going to refer to Dead Souls right now. Excuse me. Dead Souls gets a lot of slack, and for a good reason. That game's frame rate is absolutely, if you play that game on the PS3, that frame rate, ugh. Especially because the performance doesn't perform very well. Really, look at what I'm saying. Anyway, like I was saying, that game does not perform well, but there are some really fun things about this game. Like the fact that you get to see Majima you get to see Majima hit the thing. There's not just zombies in this game. There's different sort of monsters. There's rock beasts and all this kind of stuff. And there's some really interesting things about Dead Souls that I do not want to spoil. The only thing I will spoil is that Majima is in absolutely crazy mode in this one, because he will you put Majima in a zombie zombie infested world. He's just not gonna care. He's watching a zombie movie. A zombie movie comes up, an actual zombie comes up, and he's like, huh, cool. And it just starts going crazy. So good. But Dead Souls, while it gets a lot of flack, I'm gonna put it, we'll put it in between. I like it better than Kenzan. I'm thinking either high C or low B. Can we do high C? Just like the, I was gonna say lemonade, but like the fruit punch. Anyway, back to Binary Domain. This game hates you if you're British. But I feel like this is RGG's better attempt at a shooter, gameplay-wise. Mostly during the time it was known for its voice commands. So for example, if you wanted one of your squad mates to say, hey, go up, or ascend, not ascend, go up, go left, all that kind of stuff, you can actually do that. Unfortunately, sometimes the game's audio doesn't work if you're British. However, in my personal experience from playing it, it works fine. And one of my favorite things about Binary Domain is that you can one of the voice commands is literally telling your squad mate that you love them. So I will just randomly go up, during a battle, I say, hey, I will randomly tell one of my squad, especially, I will randomly tell Bo, I'll just go yo, I love you, and then he'd be like, this is a battle, yo. So just for that alone, it's going higher than Dead Souls. But on any given day, I'd probably play Corelio over Binary Domain. Step and roll, same but worse.
Yeah, put that in F tier.
We're putting that in F tier. If y'all remember Step and Roll, this is Monkey Ball. Oh wow, they added the Wii Balance Board. Who actually used the Wii Balance Board other than Wii Fit? Because I feel like that was the only good game released on it. But yeah, Step and Roll, more the same. To me, I want to go through it quicker. More of the same. Step and Roll, unfortunately, is this not a good monkey ball game at all, and especially they had to dumb it down incredibly more because you're using the balance board. And when you have controls like that, it's not gonna really work very well. Either way, we're getting to absolute peak right here with Black Panther 2, and already, I don't want to say I enjoy more the original, but I'm tempted. Should I do it?
Do it.
Or should I just put it in Nav? No, I'm gonna put, you know what? I might do it. Because Black Panther 2, again, fantastic sequel, Sin Sophia, absolutely, this is absolutely peak Yakuza. If y'all know Shonen no Kaze, he did the theme Bubble for Yakuza 0. He actually did a theme for this game. It's called Born to be Wild. I'm not gonna sing it. You know what? I'm not gonna sing it because that would be absolutely embarrassing and I don't know all the words. But absolutely peak final boss. If you wanted a final boss that is essentially the Broly of the Yakuza franchise, you got him in Black Panther 2. So if you have not played Black Panther 2, get on it. Now, Yakuza 5. I remember this was one of the games that everyone in the RGG franchises wanted because after Dead Souls release in America, Yakuza 5 came out just fine in Japan. However, in America, we weren't getting Yakuza 5. And the reason being for that is because Sega actually did start localization on Yakuza 5, but because of the low sales of Dead Souls and how big Yakuza 5 was, they actually quietly canceled the localization of Yakuza 5. Although for about 2 years, essentially a lot of the Yakuza fans, the very small community at that time, because Yakuza wasn't very popular in America, they were asking us, hey, are we gonna get Yakuza 5? Are we gonna get Yakuza 5? And the good news is that we eventually got Yakuza 5, right? However, in America, it was a digital-only release because number one, game very big, and on number two, Sega had to partner with Sony to get it done. Essentially, Yakuza 5 was on this thing called the Build the List campaign that was done by Sean, and I don't want to say Sean Layden. It's one of the Gio Corsi, I think. Yeah, I think it's Gio Corsi. Essentially, that was a list from Sony basically saying, hey, what games do you want to see come over to America, or what games do you want to see localized, or what games, that sort of thing, or come to Sony consoles. And Yakuza 5 was at the very top. And because of that, we finally got Yakuza 5 in 2015. Took three or so years, and especially a lot of crying from us, but that was the game that was the game that essentially it needed to be localized, or else Yakuza wouldn't even have a representation here in Sonic Expo Atlanta. So it is a very important title of the franchise. However, I don't like it too much. I don't hate it, but I don't like it too much because that game is so long! Okay. Yeah, like I said, Yakuza 5 is a very, very long game. However, and there's so much things about it that while the gameplay is fantastic, all the different characters are fantastic, the story of that game, to me, I personally think it could use some work. Because and I feel like I'm getting nasty glares from the audience right now. So they're we're gonna after he's done, we're gonna beat him up. So I'd be fine with that, by the way, because that's what this is for. But I don't like it. I think personally, out of the PS3 titles, it is my least favorite. That doesn't stop it from being a fantastic. It doesn't stop it from being a good RGG experience because you play it for the gameplay. It is one of those games that actually my favorite part of Yakuza 5 was Haruka. If the whole dancing subplot and the story of that. I'm one of the few people who actually likes Murray Park, believe it or not. I feel like I will get some flack for that, but either way, I'm one of the few people that actually like that and how that story went, and especially how they portrayed the idol industry. But there's some things I wasn't a big fan of Shinada personally. I know how much people love him. I wasn't a huge fan, but I love this. I want to say I respect this game for what it did for the franchise and how much we needed it to get localized. And I want to put it like, when I say this, I want to put so much respect on this game. But for me, I'd rather play Spike Out. At least, at the very least, I'll put it in the high C. Ishin! Now, this is I want to preface this because I do have Ishin twice on this list. This is the original version of Ishin, and I personally want to put that pretty high for now. I think Ishin as a more of essentially it was when it first came out, it was a cross PS3, PS4 title because I think it was a launch title for the PS4 in Japan. And what they did with that essentially got us to what we got with, future titles like Yakuza 0. And because of that, and how absolutely fantastic that game is gameplay-wise, how interesting the story-wise it is, I want to put it in a high A. Now, Monkey Ball Banana Splits. This is actually a better Monkey Ball game than what we've seen from the last two ones. And this one was the one for the PlayStation Vita. Banana Splits is a good Monkey Ball game because they actually did bring back a little bit of the difficulty. And it's they brought back a little bit of the difficulty and you can play it on the go. It felt like a really decent Monkey Ball experience. And because of that, we're gonna put it right next to Binary Domain. Now, who loves me some Yakuza 0? Who? Oh. Okay, moving on. No, you know what? The best part about it is if I did not play Yakuza 0's Director's Cut on Switch 2 recently this summer, I wouldn't say it would have gone an F, but it would have been lower. No, it would have been. No, it would have gone in G. No, G for good, by the way. But Yakuza 0, it is also the game that everyone loves. And you know what? I get it. I actually ended up when I played it on Switch, 2, minus the other cutscenes. When I played it on Switch 2, I actually really ended up falling in love with Yakuza 0 again. There's so much it is absolutely one of their actually one of their best games. And luckily, because I replayed it, excuse me. No. Guess where it's going? Yeah. So for once, hopefully that will save me from getting beaten down back because I fell in love with Kiryu's story, the captains, Kuze, Awano, and the Majima story, it genuinely broke my heart all over again. And it was I even remember when I first played Yakuza 0, I got so much into the story that I was in college at the time, and I remember there would be moments, especially I think during Majima's peak of frustration, we'll just call it that. And I would actually take off and throw my shirt, and I'd be shirtless playing the game. I was locked in, bro. That's how peak that game can be. And when I played it again, I'm oh yeah, I really did do that. It's crazy. Monkey Ball 3D. Sorry I'm moving on, but I do want to get on to the later titles that a lot of people have played. But Monkey Ball 3D, I think it's also a decent Monkey Ball game, but it is not the best portable Monkey Ball game, but it is a decent one. For now, you're going in high C because I still think Banana Splits was better. I'm pretty sure Monkey Ball 3D actually came before Banana Splits, but you know what? Who's paying attention? Let's move on. Yakuza Kiwami. I feel like I am getting a lot of angry glares for this, and personally, you know what? Would I play Kenzan over Kiwami again? Probably. I would be. I'm gonna keep it there because personally, while 0 is fantastic, we didn't need it over again, but worse, in my opinion. Because I personally think Yakuza Kiwami is I have a stigma against remakes as my Twitter would probably say, or how I would say on YouTube. Except Star Ocean 2 because that game's peak. Anyway, but Yakuza Kiwami is like, it was actually one of the first games I experienced with the RGG franchise. And looking back on it, I didn't actually really get into it. It was just like, when I finished it, I was just like, okay, that was neat. I didn't really think about it too much. When I played Zero, however, I was like, oh my God, I need to, like, this is absolutely amazing. But when it comes to Kiwami, a lot of things, like, I'm one of those guys who like prefers the original Yakuza 1 over Kiwami because there's so many things about Kiwami that just really bring it down. Especially how they didn't fully, like, there are some great things that I really like Nishiki's, like, the new Nishiki cutscenes, absolutely fantastic. I'm not gonna hate on those. The gameplay, even RGG, hopefully the devs can back me up on this, but the thing is, this was around the time where they were getting very rushed. So like, this was they were kind of just like a very rushed remake. So like, they were missing content that was originally in the PS2 version or stuff like that. And there was also like, the game, like they would just put like, oh, we have a boss from the original. We're just gonna plop a different gameplay style. We'll give that guy Dancer, we'll give this random dude Dancer style and you'll be stuck on him for like the next 3 hours. But I'm not a huge fan of Kiwami, honestly. But after Kiwami, and people might hate me for this, came one of my favorite games in the entire franchise. Yakuza 6, The Song of Life, despite its jankiness, despite everything, despite all my rage, it is one of my favorite RGG titles. Like, it is my favorite RGG title. Because it's essentially, think of Yakuza 3 done on the PS4 with like some absolute, with just so much to that. Like, just think Yakuza 3, however, with minus the orphanage, but you get a bunch of like, I almost said Okinawa, a bunch of Hiroshima boys. The Hirose family in that game, like the characters in that game, especially like the Hirose family, I fell in love with. This is like the game Yakuza 6 is the game I played the most out of like all the RGG titles. Like, number one, it's because it's so short, but like the soundtrack in the game, the graphics in that game, there's so many things about it. The gameplay, it's their first time using the Dragon Engine, and that's why the graphics are fantastic, but the game has these, they have ragdoll physics, and they didn't really do the best to the game. However, to me, I just liked it for that charm. This is like the personal bias S rank for me. And like, so many good tracks. Shout out to my boy Zenta for tracks like Lots of Light, or like one of the boss tracks like Destiny. I can think of like, what's that? What's the Onomichi theme? What's it called? You see, I know it by heart. There's so much things I love about Yakuza 6, and I've talked about that in previous videos, and yeah. Anyway, Yakuza Kiwami 2. I prefer it a little bit over Kiwami 1, because they did fix things about Yakuza 6 in that one. But overall, it's a remake I'm not a huge fan of. But either way, we're gonna put it in C. Think Yakuza 6, but Yakuza 2, and yeah. Sorry, oh gosh, I didn't realize I have 10 minutes. You know what? We're gonna go through these much faster. Hokuto Gakutoku. Gosh. I'm not a huge fan of Fist of the North Star, and I'm pretty sure this one is like, while it is probably one of the best Fist of the North Star games, it's not one of the best RGG titles, so we're gonna put that in definitely not F. But Chad, I think I might be cooked because this is one of the few RGG titles I did not finish. And it's because a lot of that game can get very repetitive in a way. But for now, no, actually. You know, I did finish Yakuza 5, so we're gonna put Hokuto ga Gokuzu there. Judgment. Who's big fans of Judgment? Yeah. I actually love Judgment because this was like one of the few. This was one of the. Personally, if anyone's wants to play Yakuza, but they don't want to fully get involved with the franchise, Judgment is probably one of the best ones to do so with. By the way, we're getting to the huge bangers here, so I want to go through this much faster because we only have like 8 minutes or so. But Judgment is a fantastic title, and if you have not played it, you definitely need to. And another fantastic title coming up, Like a Dragon, Yakuza Like a Dragon or Like a Dragon 7. This game absolutely brought me to tears. Like, this was the first game that introduced like the RPG mechanics, and like Ichiban is absolutely a fantastic character. I've cosplayed him many times, and 7 is just a fantastic RPG all around. It's up there with like the greats for me. If I were to say, this is another one of people's favorite games, and for that reason, and one of my favorite titles in the series, like it's second best for me. 7's it's also going in S rank. I'm sorry I'm going to do this fast. There's so much I could talk about 7, but I want to make sure I get through this because I didn't realize how much time I have left. Lost Judgment. Now, Lost Judgment is a fantastic sequel. There are like, essentially this is probably one of the best, like when it comes to Lost Judgment, I think this is one of their, like this is actually like their best, like if they're gonna do a sequel to a game, this was like RGG's best. Because I really like, there's oh yeah, I remember they got a dough for the, I'm laughing off, but I remember they got a dough for the main theme. They also got like, they improved upon the combat. I really like that Tiger Style is Tiger Style was broken in the first Judgment, but in Lost Judgment, they're like, you know what? We're gonna break it and make it even more powerful. They did not fix that at all. They just made it better, which is funny to me. Either way, Banana Mania. Remake of Super Monkey Ball 1 and 2. While the controls could be better, it is like one of the best it is one of the best Monkey Ball games ever, even though it's a remake. I know I said I hate remakes, but this is one of the few ones where they actually got it right. So Banana Mania is going there. Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown. I know I skipped through VF, but I wanted to make sure that VF was like the team at AM2, and now they've kind of combined now for RGG Studios, and especially because Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown was the one where they ported over a Virtua Fighter to the Dragon Engine. And Virtua Fighter 5 Ultimate Showdown, while that game is fine, I really think Final Showdown was better than Ultimate Showdown because of the amount of content that was in that game. Like, essentially, this game was like Virtua Fighter esports. And while it's fine to get another Virtua Fighter with better graphics, or a port of Virtua Fighter with better graphics, I still think Final Showdown is still better. And while we're gonna rank a fighting game, either way, it's still Virtua Fighter 5 with less content. So we're gonna put that in the middle for now. Like a Dragon Ishin. This is Ishin Kiwami in Japan. And you take a fantastic game, and you add a horrible card system. Even though this was the first time they kind of did that, this was like, I wouldn't say the first time they remade a game. Oh my gosh. But a lot of things about Ishin Kiwami I wasn't a huge fan of. Like, number one, the card system and how terrible that was. Or they changed a lot of the voice of the actors in that game and stuff like that. Wasn't a huge fan of that. Still fine. It's still Ishin, so it's going low B. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name. Gameplay. Okay, story-wise. Oh my god. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, fantastic story. And that's why it's going up in B. Yeah, for now. Because The gameplay of that, it could be better. There are some things that drag, but like the story, like this was essentially, they took part of Life at Dragon 8 and like made it its, like, because originally Man Who Erased His Name was gonna be part of, like story-wise it was gonna be part of the Like a Dragon 8, but they took that segment out and made it a separate game, which I think personally worked out for the better because it made it that game hit more for me. Like the ending of Man Who Erased His Game is like actually one of the best endings in the entire franchise. And if you love Yakuza 3, you should at least like once you get to Man Who Erased His Name, you'll understand. Anyway, since we're almost done, we're gonna go through this not very, very fast, but Like a Dragon 8. I talked about that game for 50 minutes on my YouTube channel. Wow, it is a fantastic, it is great gameplay-wise, sequel-wise, and all that kind of stuff. People might hate me for this, but the B is really going down. I'm thinking wit, but I'm also thinking, we'll put it right there for now because I think it improved, like, the gameplay of Like a Dragon 8 improves upon everything Like there is movement and combat and all this fantastic stuff they added, but there was too much bloat, and because of that, I feel like the gameplay kind of suffers, or like the pacing of the game kind of suffers, and the story suffers because you also have Kiryu's back for some reason, Kiryu's back, but like, and like we thought that like 6 was supposed to like be his last title, but like we got Man Who Erased His Name just for that reason alone. But either way, I was like, after Man Who Erased His Name, I'm like, man, I want more Kiryu. And after 8, well, I loved parts of Kiryu's like subcontent and stuff like that. So, main story-wise, I was just kind of like, man, I don't want to see Kiryu anymore, which is kind of sad, unfortunately, because I feel like, 7 was the one that introduced Ichiban, and he was supposed to be the main head of the franchise. But like 8 decides to go, oh, by the way, we're gonna do dual protagonists again, where I'm like, can we should focus more on Ichiban. I got an Ichiban shirt, and I might be a little biased when I say this. I wish that game focused way more on Ichiban than on Kiryu personally, because Like a Dragon doesn't have to be Kiryu's, only Kiryu's story, which we will see. But either way, Monkey Ball, Banana Rumble. Now, I'm gonna put this right next to Banana Mania because it's just essentially, hey, let's take Banana Mania, make an original Monkey Ball game, make it fantastic, add multiplayer, all this fantastic stuff. I'd rather play Yakuza 2 though, but we're gonna add all this fantastic stuff, and yeah, I think Banana Rumble was a fantastic, was just like, finally, Monkey Ball has an original game with new levels and it's back. Monkey Ball is like back in full force and I love it for that reason. And Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii.
R tier, R.
R, yeah, we'll put that, for now, I have not fully finished Pirate Yakuza Hawaii. From what I played, it is like the gameplay is great. The story's got me gripping, but you know what? For this last one, someone raised their hand who's actually played Pirate Yakuza in Hawaii. Where am I gonna put it?
I would put it like maybe.
Oh, sorry.
Need me to get closer?
No, yeah, you can shout whichever you.
I'm thinking honestly, like mid B, maybe mid high B, like for me.
Mid-high B? Anyone else want to add to that?
I'd say high B.
High B?
High B.
High B? Everyone good with high B? Yeah. All right, let's do high B. Now, are we gonna put him over Man Who Erased His Name?
No.
Okay. Over Yakuza 3? Nope. Over, you know what? There we go, we'll put it there. Who's good with this? All right, so that is my Ryugaku Studios tier list. I hope you liked it. As you can tell, I love RGG Studios. That the point, like, most of their games didn't even go lower than D. We put F for like, we put like obviously the later Monkey Ball games pretty low, but in virtual NBA because my dad's not in that game. But I really feel like no matter what game you play from RGG, like all of them are just fantastic. Like any game you play from RGG is just a fantastic game. And if you have not played Yakuza, again, you can either start from Yakuza 0. Actually, hold on, let me think about this because my voice is cracking out. Anyway, if you're gonna play Yakuza, I personally recommend PS2 Yakuza 1. So, get started with the franchise. Or if you wanna like play the game everyone loves, Yakuza 0. One and done, Judgment, and play Lost Judgment. Yeah, and play Lost Judgment. And if you like RPGs, RGG 7. And from there, you can play whichever order you like. I would recommend release order. You can play chronological order. But I'm not your dad. I'm not your mom. Play whichever you like. Anyway, it is 6:02. If you want to talk to me, I will be. I don't know. I'll be outside. But anyway, thank you everyone so much for coming. I hope y'all enjoyed my RGG tier list, and if you shared along your own or you made your own, let me know, especially because I want to see y'all guys' opinions. Anyway, thank you everybody. Good night. Hope you enjoy the rest of the expo. Anyway, thank you everyone.
F-Zero still top tier. I don't care what anybody says.
Woo woo.